It's time.
All right, let's call to order the regular board meeting of USD 420. I would ask, we had an item come up late this afternoon. If we could add under new business number 9, property insurance update. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as adopted.
So moved. Second. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Delegation.
No.
Consent agenda. Any questions from May 13th? Any correspondence? Treasurer's report?
Okay, treasurer's report, back to that. We had, some state money to general fund, $299,000, on the first column. We did get some food service money from the state also, $40,495. We had some other food service money down there, $56,000. So our food service account's in pretty good shape. Page 2 of the treasurer's report on the backside, really the only thing really notable was we got some title money, Title I, Title II. On the petty cash, I think all we need is elementary reimbursement for $167. Payment of the bills. Most of what we're gonna see now is just requisitioning going on. There's a whole lot of teaching supplies and different things like that, but first page, I didn't see anything too crazy different.
So that was my biggest question. I see teacher supplies.
It's all
rec related.
requisitioning
Okay.
for next year. Page 2, KSB Workers' Comp Fund, that was $20,151. It gets paid each year based on usage. And the only other thing I saw that was really too notable would be the Three Lakes flow-through money. So there's some more money going over to Three Lakes. They're down on revenue, so they need that.
Is that our first installment for next year, or is that the last one for this year?
This is
That-
flow through.
That's just flow-through money. That's not an assessment.
Okay.
It's a state aid flow-through. So we're done with, hopefully we don't have any more assessments. We've had our fourth, so. On the addendums, right now, through the month of May, we have about 22% remaining on the general fund. It's about pretty typical, and about 50% of the LOB remaining. And I think that's it. Not a lot to go through this time. We've had some substantial savings. I mean, we've saved probably in city bills, utilities, and fuel over the last 3 months, down about 22,000, for the last 3 months, if you combine those two. So just didn't drive anywhere, and utilities was down a little bit too, so lights were off.
Any questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting of May 13th. Treasurer's report for May 31st, 2020. Petty cash reimbursement for elementary school of $167, and the bills be allowed in the total amount of $236,593.76 for June 10th, 2020. And made payroll in the amount of $429,167.31.
Second. Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Old business summer activity guidelines.
I'll let these guys jump in, but I just wanted to make just review again, we're getting ready to kind of open up for summer conditioning. June 15th, is phase 4 with the county, and that is, lifting the 90 limit. So we feel like we've been pretty conservative and, trying to use some common sense and getting back into, summer conditioning. And we start with 2 weeks on June 15th at the track, with some, different smaller groups. We can break up down there. Then on June 29th, we will be hopefully in phase out based on the county health department's plan here. And that starts on June, actually phase out is July 1st, but we're starting on June 29th. But smaller groups and different things. And you guys have anything you want to add? I think
one
we've
of
seen it.
Mr. Gambine emailed me today asking about some things that, of course, we had our guidelines we put out and you guys saw those. There was some question about temperature checking and things like that, if that's something we still are wanting to do. I know things have changed over the last month, and especially in this area, inactive cases, and didn't know if that's something we want to do or we mandatory. He takes enroll anyway. We know who's there when. He does that anyway. But if you're wanting him to take we have the thermometers, I think. If you're wanting him to take temperature before they come in.
That'll be weight
I know
room. I think we would,
I think that was just for the weight room. But
that was just for, we would not do that outside,
Indoor.
but indoor, but it's not, I don't know if that's-
Cases doesn't have anything about temperature check. It's just about the when you can get together, how much you need, how many days you need conditioning before you have any team camps, the maximum number of hours per day that an athlete can train. So they really don't have anything about disinfecting, about social distancing, nothing about temperature checks or anything like that, so.
And the county nurse, her program is.
That's what it says in here on the phase out that pretty much all restrictions are lifted. Individuals may choose to wear masks and observe social distancing, but it's no longer an expectation. So since we talked last time, lots of things have changed.
Exactly.
So we're trying to just, it's not like we can't do it. We can. We have ordered thermometers and we have the ability to do it. It's just, do we do it?
Starting next week, conditioning will be outside anyway.
Right. We weren't planning on doing it outside anyway.
Right, so technically wouldn't start until the beginning of July when the full phase out takes
Right.
effect.
June 29th.
June
Would be our
29th.
first day in the weight room.
But we're still planning on doing the sanitizing.
Right.
I was gonna say, even though Keisha suggested,
We're gonna sanitize and the plan on that is to have a squirt bottle at every station along with disposable towels with, a trash can to put them in, so.
are we having, I know I have friends in Topeka and Lawrence and Emporia, well, we were coworkers, we were all talking about, they all their student athletes have signed waivers. Have we talked about that or
We,
thought about that?
we could
Or
do,
what does that do? I don't know if it helps, it just makes us
it's
less
a
liable.
paper trail, but I don't think it does anything for liability.
It doesn't for liability, I was just curious,
You can do it, we can do it. We do a assumption of risk
It's up to
already.
you guys, I mean, they were talking about waivers and I was like, we hadn't signed any, so.
I've seen
I
Council
think
Grove
if
do
you're-
it, but
It's
I think if you're not practicing sanitation and things like that, that waiver's not gonna do you any good anyway. But if you're doing all the things you're supposed to be doing to keep distance and, the things that are described by the county, I don't think you have to have a piece of paper, but certainly could.
I kind of did some checking around the area and most of them are not doing temperature checks. Not that doesn't mean we can't, they just are not.
And if somebody doesn't feel well, they need to be told, don't come. Don't show up.
I think if you by doing the log, it kind of, if something does happen, they're able to backtrack it and find out, what
Who
session.
have been exposed and.
Because obviously, I mean, you don't have any control about the parents or if they go elsewhere or go visit a friend or whatnot. But to me, the the temperature isn't necessary, it's the login, I think, that keep track of
That would be a
who's
def.
there and when.
There's almost a false sense of security.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, cause they can still have it without
Yeah.
temperature.
So
So
At
consensus
this
is
age,
no
that'd be probably
temperature.
more typical.
Is that correct? Consensus would be not to require temperature.
I would say so.
Okay, we'll continue with the plan far as logging, and the social distancing did change a little bit, like the restrictions, so in the initial guideline that there was not gonna be any spottings, it was gonna be lighter lifting. And they'll do lighter lifting obviously early, but they will be allowed to have spotters and things like that when they're doing.
they are still talking about smaller groups in there at one time.
Are we gonna open it up on the 29th, or are we gonna wait till July 1st when the phase out comes?
I think he's starting on the 29th, but we won't, they limit that, the 90 persons thing, that ended already, so. Actually, we're
And it's
starting
by
that
grade
week.
level, I believe, when I looked at the
Yeah.
calendar, so we won't.
We won't
max
have
out.
big groups in there at all, there's still gonna be some really pretty small groups as they break it up.
Anything else, guys, on that?
Yeah, he doesn't think he'll have any groups larger than 30.
New business number one, summer academy plans.
Go ahead, Kathy, we are planning on doing summer academy, and we've asked Kathy to come in and kind of discuss what that's gonna look like this year.
If you don't know, Kathy is our summer academy director. What's coming around is a letter for the parents and it has questions and answers on them. In the past, we have had summer academy, we've had open enrollment for the 4-year-olds and for the kindergartners. And invitation for first grade. With the COVID, that put a little catch in the get along, so we weren't able to do that earlier on. And we're planning on, we're sending invitations out and limiting the number of kiddos that we'll have. But this is the ones for the first invitation out. Our goal is to have it, after the 4th of July, so July 6th through the 31st. 8:30 to 11:30 for kiddos, the instructors there from 8 to 12. Transportation is going to be available to certified daycares. What do the kiddos need? Nothing except a smile. However, if the parents want them to have a mask, we're asking for them to provide it. We often offer snacks. The precautions that we have listed on the back of the letter, it says that we will have maximum space between the kiddos on the bus, and the bus will be sanitized daily. Within the classroom, kiddos will be utilizing the social distancing of 6 feet. Of course, the tables, light switches, doorknobs, sanitized daily. We're also gonna have this be a great opportunity to practice with the kiddos, social distancing within line, proper bathroom behavior, washing of hands. The restrooms also will be cleaned daily. And we've thought about with recess, go out time, get some wiggle and run time, that will be individual grade levels, so that the way they'll be with the same people and fewer number of kiddos. Water fountains won't be used. We will, however, go ahead and provide the water bottles for the kiddos as we have in the past. And then as far as, we'll have a crayon or a pencil box set or something that has the crayons they will need, the glue sticks, whatever it is, the supplies that they will need. We will provide that so that it will be yours for the time of summer academy, and you will have yours for the time of summer academy, so there shouldn't be much, my fingers on your stuff kind of thing. We my plan is, with your approval on this, to pop these in the mail with a self-addressed stamped envelope tomorrow. And then I'm requesting that, they be used a self-addressed stamped envelope to fill out, to return the information form, saying, yes, I do want my kiddo in there. It has the information request of how to contact and things like that. Or, nope, I do not want my kiddo in summer academy. And from there, I'll start contacting. It says to please have them back by the 19th, so I will start calling. And from the people I haven't heard from. And if there's a refusal, we'll send out or get in contact for another invitation.
How many kids are we talking about here?
Figuring about 10 per grade, 10 to 12 per grade level would be
This is-
ideal.
Pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, those
4-year-old preschool, and then kindergarten and first grade,
So 30 kids total.
30 kids total.
I know last meeting, we did the kindergarten readiness, which I thought was different than summer academy, cause I thought we weren't gonna do summer academy, or I get switched.
This might, we're shifting.
Okay,
This could
that's
be-
why,
yeah,
sorry.
No, that's a good question, cause this is potentially the last year that we're looking at summer academy as it is. We just didn't know if we were gonna do it this year or not, based off of where things were at. We decided after time went by and things changed with the COVID, that we could go ahead and do it, but we're shifting next year to the
To
three,
kindergarten
the
readiness.
preschool, yes,
Yes,
So
Preschool.
does that change
which
if
is the
there's
preschool.
yes.
12 kids that are
We'll be
pre-K
moving
and
the
6 kids kindergarten?
Sort of preschool kids in.
You don't cut them
Yes.
off at 10.
10.
We can,
Big
so
for a
it's cut
class,
off.
for a classroom, if we want to teach the kiddos how to maintain that social distancing, we're gonna keep it at 10.
So once there's 10 kids and whatever, it's cut off and then they can't go to a different one
Correct.
if there's not enough time.
If you're in a 4-year-old preschool and there's 10 of you, there's 10 of you. I wouldn't,
I was talking more like if, let's say you got 12 of those and 8 kindergartners, do you move one up?
shucky darns, no.
So you just go to the smaller
So
class?
your 4-year-old preschool kiddo is going to be learning the
Exactly.
4-year-old preschool expectations and things. Good question though. It does, however, on there, on the back of the letter, it does say that should the phase out orders be rescinded, postponed, or heaven forbid, somebody test positive who is directly affected with summer academy, at that time, summer academy will be shut down. So if tomorrow the governor says, hey, by the way, we're backing up a phase, done. If by chance Kathy Reed comes out COVID positive, done. Anybody?
What about a student's parent or anything? That's a direct impact.
That's excellent question. That kiddo will not be, will still have to do their 2 weeks quarantine.
Oh, the kid.
The kiddo would do their 2 weeks quarantine. If the kiddo is tested positive, then we're done.
You got it.
Okay, so we talked about the maximum number of kids that we can have. Is there a minimum? So let's say you send the invites out and not enough parents are interested in doing it this year because of what's going on. Is there a minimum that we need to physically do the academy before we say,
No.
no, not doing it?
If we're going to take advantage of whatever is there, so let's just pretend that you guys are everybody. Looky there, we have more one-on-one time.
Okay.
So either way is a blessing. Because we either have more kiddos there to impact, or we're going to get more quality one-on-one time with the ones we have.
Kathy had a
Win-win.
really good meeting with her staff, and at that meeting, I think they were all in favor of saying, we need this time with our kids. This summer is really critical, according to any other summer that we've had summer academy, just because of the lost time in school,
Right.
so.
Any other questions, comments, concerns, thoughts?
We had the same question about the temperature checks with both of these. Kind of felt like, you know, with where we're at, probably wasn't necessary at first, but we will keep a strict log of where we're at with kids in there every day. So if we get to that point, we have the ability to do it. So
So we just to confirm, we have no, without any, I'm going back to the signed waiver, we do not have liability if a student does come in, has COVID, we cancel the camp, but it's actually now already exposed, 40 kids. We have no liability if somebody comes back and says, you put my kid in a room with another kid, you allowed.
I don't know
I
if
don't
there's
think
ever,
the waiver is gonna protect you, but until that's tested, I mean,
yeah.
who knows if you have
We could-
liability.
I don't know, I believe that's why this waivers my friends were signing, allowed that the liability not to be on the school, like you're allowing your child in.
We can put a waiver out there, I don't know if it'll do that.
I don't know
for
if we
us,
need to contact I'm not trying to be I just don't want us to get into a position
Sure.
where we get in trouble.
I know on the activity policy piece, on the KASB Zoom meeting I was on, it was a month ago today when they had the Acacia guy on there, and then Angie Stolbaum flat out said
But
that waiver.
pre-Ks have nothing to do with Keisha.
Right, I was trying to say that Angie
That's-
Stolbaum, the KASB
yeah,
attorney,
uh-huh.
said the waiver's not gonna do anything to protect you. That was a month ago, but.
We're not opposed to a waiver, it's just.
No, I just wanna protect us.
Right.
I
Also.
can include on the enrollment, that gives the information. I could include that I understand that all precautions will be made to keep my child safe.
I mean, I don't.
And then, but that does not, but there are no guarantees, as in life.
I mean, I think that's without saying for everything, but I
Yeah,
just.
but I mean, like, I could include that.
So who would be responsible for a kid coming to school with a fever? Is that our responsibility or is that a parent's responsibility? I mean, if,
Alleviate it,
yeah, let's say.
we would
they
hope
come
that
and
parents
we-
won't send
if
them,
We don't
but
check a temperature and we find out they got a temperature, so my question is, would we be smart to go ahead and check temperatures every day just to cover our own bases?
with these little guys, we could.
Exactly, because the little kid's not gonna tell you, I mean, they're gonna tell you if not feeling well, but they're not gonna tell you if they're running a fever.
We have the ability to do it. Like I said, we have,
That might be a good idea, cause a lot of parents will bring them, drop them off and not think anything about it, cause the kid didn't tell them they weren't feeling well. But if you zap them with that and check the temperature.
Yeah, we can definitely do that, I mean,
I mean,
we
it's
have
one way
our
to stop, prelim,
paras that.
I mean.
we'll have a
That's
para
when
on the
kids come in.
bus. And one of the things we talked about is that we have a para on the bus and they have a thermometer but everybody else who just comes in the door, they get checked. We have plenty of thermometers to go around. We can have
Yeah.
multiple people doing
I
it. It
think
won't
that might
take,
be a good idea.
Summer Academy, Kathy's actually the one that rides the bus, so she could definitely do that with the kids coming on the bus. But the other ones, we have Heather and Jenny Long and Heather Lieber that can definitely check the kids at the door. They're actually called our paras during Summer
Is the
Academy.
guideline like 100.4 or something like that, is that what they consider?
yeah,
100.4, they get sent home.
yeah, we can definitely do that.
100.4, you say? Okay, so on the back of the letter, one of the other precautions I'll put on there is temperature will be taken prior to entry or entry to the building or the school bus. According to the health department, 100.4 is the guideline. And then I will add on to the enrollment thing to say, I understand that all precautions will be taken to ensure safety of everyone.
I mean, you could even steal another school district, not naming who it is. By signing this agreement, I acknowledge the contagious nature of COVID-19 and voluntarily assume the risk that my children be exposed to or infected by COVID-19 by attending USD blank activities on or off campus. I understand that the risk of being exposed to or infected by COVID-19 may result from the acts, omissions, or negligence of myself and others. I hold harmless any USD employees or volunteers during these summer activities.
So is that the waiver, kind of like what you're talking about, Colin?
I mean,
That's
I
an
just-
example of another.
Mike, could you send that to Kathy?
May I have you forward that?
You did not write that down. I did not get all
It is,
that.
I'm so violating.
I mean,
Which I'm
I'm
sure-
still leaning towards, I don't know why we wouldn't have our or middle school and high school athletes just sign
Mike, if I can
that,
have
or
you go
just
ahead
the
and.
parents.
Well, we
sign
can
it,
just
'cause
say-
I will
we
leave
can
the
add that
meeting
to our
and get
assumption
this
of risk form.
retype this up tonight
There
before
you-
I leave.
I mean, it's no, that's not.
Add it to your assumption of risk form, I agree, maybe
But they don't check that until they enroll.
that's not till August.
Not till August, but we can
I mean,
We
this
can
thing
use
ain't
this-
going away.
We can use the same form for the summer, it's no big
As
deal.
far as the summertime, it's complete voluntary attendance anyway.
Or copy me on that, Mike. Sorry. Keep raising it out.
We send it to.
Can I send it to
Sounds like
you
I'm
and you
gonna
send
need
it to
to.
her?
What was you saying, summertime is what?
Is it in? 'Cause
Summer
he's in here.
conditioning's all voluntary anyway. You don't have to come.
But if they don't, then they can't participate in fall sports.
No, then
right?
we just have to offer it.
Okay, so if a kid doesn't do that and he shows up in August, he's ready to go, he can play sports. Okay, I was thinking Keisha put out there.
I thought there was
Had to have-
conditioning, yeah, that.
Well, they,
You would have your new.
they initially said that, but then they said it was voluntary attendance, and you can't make somebody come to a voluntary attendance. So if you don't,
That's
if
kinda
some,
crazy,
if
isn't it?
somebody doesn't attend and come August 17th, they can practice the rest of the season. We have move-ins, there's other things that could affect
Right.
that, so it's complete voluntary. We have to offer 10 days conditioning prior to any.
I was thinking that they
Sorry.
had to have the 10 days conditioning before they could. I still like for pads in football. Is there still a limit on how many practices they gotta have before they put pads on?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So does the summer conditioning count towards that? So let's say school opens, can we start pads in?
So are we good to go with those 2 additions?
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Yes.
Thank you. If you will excuse me,
K
I'm going to
Reed.
go
K
type
Reed with no dots.
K Reed at USD 420, thank you.
Thank you.
Number 2, school reopening update.
Just kind of let you know what we're doing or what we have been doing to look forward to the beginning of school. We're really we've put together a team of teachers and administrators to kind of work on where will we be if we get put back in the same position that we ended the year with school closure, and or if we have a combination or one or the other, we start in school and we have to quickly move back. We know that it's going to have a lot more accountability on the kids than what we ended with continuous learning. And so we talked a lot about how can we improve on what we do or what we did, and how can we get more consistent. So 4 of the things that we talked about, one was use of Google Classroom and Google Meets. We're trying to develop consistency in that so that we don't overwhelm kids and parents, and that's one of the things in the survey, and I think that really come out that was frustrating for kids and for kids and parents, is there was a lot of different ways that teachers can use Google Classroom, from one teacher to another teacher to another teacher. So trying to develop some consistency on that to help alleviate frustration. We talked, there's a smaller subset of that group that's going to work on that to try to. You can't completely uniform how that's used, but you can have an umbrella of what it looks like that's basically the same. The other thing that we talked about was the use of Zoom versus Google Meets. And we kind of decided as a group in that meeting that due to consistency, we were going to move to Google Meets because of the Google concept and keeping everything as consistent as we can in the setup. The other thing that we talked about a lot was curriculum platforms. We know that we're going to have competencies to meet, and we don't know exactly what that means yet until KSDE comes out with that. They're all working on that right now. In fact, we have 2 teachers in our district that are working on the KSD task force with them on those things. But we don't want to have a plethora of different platforms out there that cause a lot of confusion. We've kind of limited it to the 4 that we typically use, and it might be different at every grade level, and we're not sure exactly how that's going to work yet, but we use a lot of IXL, we use a lot of Moby Max, Khan Academy, and ACT Academy. And I don't think it's a bad thing that we have multiple products to use. Some of those are free, some of those are not free, but they may be a tool that we need to use to prove competencies that kids are getting what they need. That was kind of the question that we had. I don't think we kind of came to the consensus that it wasn't great to limit it down to 1 or 2, but maybe make sure that whatever your kid and your students in your room use, you teach them that and they understand how to do that before we get closed down or we go back home. Another thing that we talked about, one of our big items was technology. Do we have the right technology to help teachers be consistent and deliver that education at school like we would want them to do if we had to go home or if we had kids at home that weren't at school? And I asked Andy to come talk about this part. Go ahead, Andy, and he's got a little demo of what we're looking at.
My first tech group that we had to get into this continuous learning, we had a post meeting, and one of the conversations that we talked about was cameras. Like if you had, we don't know what's gonna happen, if we're all gonna be at home, if we're gonna have partially, half a class, or 1 or 2 kids or whatever, like what tools, and so cameras is what was one of the main topics of that conversation. Everything from GoPros to webcams to just this whole, and so, I left the meeting kind of, my brain spinning, like, how am I gonna get all these cameras to the teachers and make it work? And I was demoing this for a different purpose. It's a Chrome tablet, so I call it a kind of a Chrome pad. It's an iPad but with Chrome OS. And so the more I was playing with it, I can do the Google Meet on it. I can record a video. I can digitally grade assignments. There's just a whole wide variety of things that I could do on this device. And I'm demoing it for kindergarten is what I was demoing it for. And the price point was amazing. It wasn't very expensive in general, but as I was thinking about it, I found this tripod for fairly inexpensive, and so as it sits right now, probably the biggest use that I see for it in this configuration is if you have those 2 or 3 kids at home, that you're trying to bring that same experience, the classroom experience, as close as you can for those kids that have to stay home because they're quarantined, or they're just not comfortable coming to school yet, or whatever that reason is. We could set this up, and the teacher's computer screen is the main presentation window for all of you guys that's been on those conference calls a lot lately. So the smart board that they're using in the front of the classroom is the main thing that they're seeing, but then they're able to interact with the class as if ask questions, as if they're sitting in the classroom. So that's one of the kind of the more powerful scenarios for it. But I think Josie Garland actually spoke up in that original meeting when we discussed, not the original, the second one that Troy was talking about, where we were discussing the different options and getting their feedback and whether they thought it would work or not. And but being able to record manipulative lessons at the lower elementary and being able to just sit it, in that configuration, whatever, have the camera and they're recording that, and then they can send it to those kids that are at home. They can take it out on the playground. They can take wherever they have Wi-Fi. They can extend their classroom using it. So the more I thought about it, all those extra cameras that we were talking about kind of gets consolidated into this. The weak there is, a few drawbacks. It doesn't have a keyboard. It is highly portable, so it doesn't have a keyboard. If I was wanting to record Patty's notes here, which I don't have a camera on, it would struggle to see that fine of a print. So the lessons are going to need to be adapted a little bit to make it work. But anyway, I can't remember the exact number I sent you guys on it, but it was around 28. That was with the kindergarten tablets on it too.
That's correct, those tablets.
For 65 tablets, I think, with tripods, and
Pretty much get one for every teacher.
And so the goal, just to make sure, backing up just a little bit, make sure, so I'm following along, the goal is this would be, it's to enhance the experience of the students by having this as a kind of the eyes of the teacher
Yeah, I
or-
think Troy kind of explained it the best on that, is it's kind of that magic tool to bridge the at-home and at-school
Uh-huh.
experience. It's the tool that the teachers really don't have right now. We've had very few kids of situations like that up to this point, hospitalizations or whatever. And so we haven't necessarily needed it in mass, but it's that tool that brings the regular classroom to the at-home experience, so.
And then would the teachers use this in your minds, as you discussed it, not only if there's a handful or half the classroom, or if we might go be in a situation where only half the kids are allowed in the classrooms, et cetera, half and half, but maybe even if everybody's at home, the teachers could use this as a,
I mean,
There won't be enough of them, though, it was only every 65.
if, so, really, like virtually, almost every single teacher gets one. I mean, we went down the list, and, I mean, there was just some very obscure situations where we said, so they would be able to take this home. In all the scenarios, like, all at home, half of, I mean, it just depends, I mean, I don't want.
that's the goal.
I hesitate to say that they will use it, but they could use it in those situations. I want each teacher's creativity to be theirs, so I don't think any of us would force it unless we just gotta figure out a way to make
It's a
that at-home
tool to
experience
enhance
as
it, yeah.
comparable as
So
the
this
case,
is
so,
something the teacher would use,
yes,
not the student.
not the students, the
Sorry,
students will
yeah,
still have their
that's-
Chromebooks.
Okay.
Kindergarten, we're looking at getting
basically
a
a
handful of
camera.
these for them, the small, lighter, portable, they're not needing the keyboarding skills, they really miss their iPads.
I was thinking
So-
for students to have at home, I think, well, we're gonna 165.
Yeah, yeah, no, these are for, yeah, exact, sorry, these are for teachers. for
We're
staff.
talking about the COVID money for,
This would be part of that.
part of the preparation for.
So they would have this and a case, like a armor, like a OtterBox case for the tablet kind of thing. And then probably, and the only thing that's not in that cost is maybe a little speaker that's attached to it, so if they do, but that would probably be a as needed situation if they, because the speaker's not real loud. But I'm looking at a lot of different scenarios between piping the Bluetooth into the classroom speakers, or it's just, I'm not ready to firmly commit on
There
that
is a
part.
speaker, it's just not
It is,
amazing.
there's a lot of options, I've just gotta figure out which option
It's
is
just
the
not
best. Yeah, so,
You call
Speaker.
this an iPad with the Chrome OS?
yeah, that's
We'll call it a Google.
that is a great, that's the best way of comparing it. So, they could install Android apps, I mean, there's hoops because of the management, but you can install Android apps, you can install Chrome apps, you can, it is a Chromebook with an iPad functionality, so.
So is our goal to have this in place before school starts up?
If you guys are good with it, I haven't talked to Troy too much, but my goal would be to order it soon so that I can get them on hand. And I would like, and that was one of the questions that came out of the meeting, is how much time are they gonna be able to play with it before school starts to learn it? I wanna get it in their hands as soon as possible, and offer some training opportunities for them. We'll make some videos, training videos on them, which was went over well on the last rollout, but yeah, we wanna get them in their hands as soon as we can.
How long does it take to get them to order?
When I got the bid, I asked it for, in one vendor, if we order now, they have it, and then we would get them in a week. Another vendor, didn't have them, but the other one, I'm still waiting on the bids, but he had like, a month ago, he had like 20,000, he had a lot of them. So
But I assume,
feel like
we
he's
don't
gonna
wanna
have
wait too
them.
long though, cause if
So we
Many-
haven't got a bid from all of them.
many
I'm
schools
waiting
are
on
gonna be
one
wanting.
bid, and it's a phone call, I can get them get them going, so.
We'd have to, we did also, the last thing we talked about was professional development on this and a lot of the other curriculum platforms if they choose to use one of those too. So that was one of our other issues that we discussed in the group.
With the PD, the videos they wanted us to keep going with those as much as we can, and I had great volunteers to help make those videos, from teacher standpoint, so we'll keep making those, we'll transition from Zoom to Meet with those videos as well, but
questions?
I think it's a great
I think it's fantastic.
I think to get prepared is what we need to do.
Make sure that the teachers have in their hands what they need to
As soon as possible.
as soon as possible to do what we need when it happens.
Budget wise, we're okay.
We would use the COVID money for expenditures. That we got the CARES Act money and we would apply that money to those too, so.
Is
So
the,
how quick would you think you ought to do it?
I mean, I could, if I wanted, the two bids I have, they're within $5 of each other, I mean, per unit, so they're very similar. The other one, I feel confident I could call him tomorrow and say, hey, I'm making a decision in a day and he'll get it to me. Probably the weight or the thing that's gonna take some time is the cases. I would probably be okay giving them out without cases initially, but we'll see how long the cases are gonna take to get here. If it's gonna be weeks, then I wanna give them out, but if it's a few days, then I'll hold on to them and ship them out with the cases.
So do we need a motion on this? Is that what?
Not, it's over, yeah,
Over
it's
20,000.
over 20,000, so yeah, I think that would take a motion.
If they go back to the classroom as normal, this is still gonna be a valuable tool to their teaching curriculum.
If you just dropped COVID from the situation and everything goes back, it would still, could potentially still be a valuable tool for the teachers, but I would probably pull them back and give them to, I don't know, they're like the music department that could use them, like they're consistently asking for ways to record audio and to have, I mean, there's a lot of flexibility with them. I'm not saying for sure that I would pull them back, cause there is a lot of uses that they could do with them. And one of the things that's come up in several meetings is having a device like the students so they could test what they're going to do for the students on a like device. Like they have a Windows 10 computer, but to do it on a Chrome OS device.
Gotcha,
So,
right.
to make sure it's
So
gonna
they
work.
can help
So
use it as an
initially,
instruction tool then.
I would
Yeah.
say, if we didn't have it, there's a lot of stuff we could do. I don't know what we would do, I guess, so.
That's a question for you, Troy, the COVID money that we're talking about, what do we have to use it for?
It has to be used for in expenditures that are directly tied to losses or in case we have a shutdown or
Putting things in place.
anything that you need to make
So
sure.
what are we needing money for right now in the COVID?
Well, some of the things, well, that would be one of them, but some of the things that we've spent money on are like cleaning supplies, like masks and thermometers and, oh boy, the sprayers that Dan uses. We've got 3 of those now, one for each building. Gosh.
Have we used anything for supplemental programs like IXL or MobiMax or any of that?
We could use it if we got a lot more IXL sites. Andy and I talked about using that because what we've done now is just encumbered what we normally would have. If it comes in that we need a whole lot more IXL sites, we could use it for that because it's strictly for COVID purposes or for a
So
shutdown.
if we use money to buy these, do we have enough to do anything else?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if we spend all the money that we have ear tagged so far in those, we'd probably have about 40,000 left. So, it's kind of a catch. We wanna spend it for the right things. And you don't wanna spend too much because you might need some in the future, but you don't wanna not spend it
Yeah.
and give it back.
This isn't gonna go away anytime soon, 'cause it's gonna, I mean, it's
No,
gonna fire
that-
back up at some point.
Believe me, I've had that same conversation with these guys. It's like, gosh, I wanna spend the money on what we need, but I don't wanna spend it all because we don't know what's coming down the road.
Well, it sounds like this is something that we could use regardless, but the odds are we're gonna need it.
If we
To
don't
some
do this,
degree.
I'm gonna be asking for something else. I mean,
Yeah.
cameras, microphones, I mean, there's going to be additional, and I'm not trying to talk you into it here, I'm just telling you, that's the reality. We will need more hardware if we don't do this.
motion then that we do by the 65, is that what it is? Using the COVID money that's available to purchase.
Yeah, I wish I had that number for sure.
I'll second.
What that number was?
I'll second.
Didn't bring that one.
For the first and the second, and Jay's voted.
Bye.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0.
Thanks, guys.
Nice work, thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Anything else on number 2?
Just that we will continue to meet with that group and, that, the first step in that was to get ready for the curriculum piece. There's a whole lot of KSDEs putting a whole lot of, guidance forth on what does school look like. We've started to think in those realms, and we will continue to talk about that. The scenarios are like endless of what things could be like. We hit on some of that already, so but we'll be starting to talk about all of those caveats later also, so that's all I have on that.
Question, would the staff be required to come in earlier than expected to get training with that? I mean, considering the expectation of when we start school and I'm sure that all the
Could,
services are already kind of set up, and having the staff have now a new tool to use and having to learn how to use it in a very short amount of time.
I'd probably have to refer to Andy on how much time he thinks.
My hope is getting them to them, getting them in their hands as soon as possible, will minimize that. They're kind of learning it without realizing they're spending time, so my hope is that's a biggie. I'm gonna have the videos, when I'm rolling them out, I'll have the videos ready so that they can, if they have questions, if they wanna get on and play with it. The other, we will have one-on-one or Zoom, however they wanna do it, but we'll have some in-person sessions available to them. The timing of it, I can't really speak to.
I'm not sure.
Those part, but I'll have the videos and the devices in their hands as soon as possible so that they can kinda learn with it as they're just using it, so.
How receptive is the staff to learning all the new technology?
The primary thing has been, we have on the staff portal, we have some training videos. And I took it all down just to clean up the webpage. It's still on the staff side, it's just not as accessible to them. But anyway, they're training videos that it's for broken up by category. So with the last one, it was Zoom and pretty much anything you wanna know on how to do Zoom. And if I didn't make the video, Kylie did, or Darcy did, or Marion Smith did, or Mr. Stuckey did, or just somebody made a video on how to do it and we organized it there. So that was kind of what we were told them, if they needed to know how to do something, that's the first stop, is try to go watch these videos. And then we have an open Zoom session that they can just, will be neat soon, but where they can just jump in, ask their question, we show them how to do whatever they're needing to do. And that was a fairly frequent, it was a pop in, minute or two, 5 minutes maybe, show them what they need and then they're on their way. So,
I'm assuming it's pretty intuitive. I can't imagine
It is.
that it's overly complicated system.
really, there's only a few gestures that they have to learn that if they all are fairly familiar with Chromebooks anyway, cause their students having them, I think it'll be an easy transition for them, I really do, so.
I think even our staff that wasn't as technology driven,
If they had to be.
they moved that direction, and even the ones you didn't think were gonna get into it as much, actually did a really good job of doing it through this, so I think they'll be more receptive to it.
out. There's a compliment to the tech team.
If these two right here can figure it out.
He wasn't gonna say it,
Sorry,
but.
I had to.
The task force that we talked to, was only a small portion of the teachers, but I don't think anybody was against not doing that.
Oh, no, we didn't.
Or in favor of not doing that.
It was a lot of excitement, this is what I felt, I'm always trying to be the devil's advocate, and, I'm excited about it, but trying to get, and I had no pushback whatsoever, I think I've had one that was a little bit concerned about not having a keyboard, but then pointed out they have a laptop already, Windows, and they're, oh, yeah, then we're good, so,
I think a lot of that though goes back to Andy and Kylie, because honestly, I think without their direction on the tech team and then all the people that were on that tech team, I think our school would have been so far behind other schools and what they did during this continuous learning plan. I just can't say enough about Andy and Kylie and his tech team, because they did a wonderful job preparing us.
It was certainly a team. I mean, the crew that we had making those videos, there's no way we could have got it all done if they wouldn't have stepped up, and it was just across the board.
There's
Proud of
a
our team.
few meetings that we had prior to the school shutdown really catapulted us into being ready. I mean, we were
I
in
had
good
tried
shape.
a lot of stuff out before school got shut down because of that meeting, making sure it was gonna be compatible and
And
so.
those videos are so nice because if you're sitting in a training, there's no rewind, listen again,
You missed that
rewind,
one
listen.
key point.
I know Judy several times would just listen to the same thing over. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Number 3, PDC activity report.
Yeah, this is just a yearly professional development council report to the board. And this was, Mr. Fort gave us this report. Dennis Fort is the chairperson. James Bellinger is the secretary. Amy Linton's a member. Tom Phillips is a member who they'll have to replace. Chris Kirkpatrick, Josie Garland, Amy Parsons, Dina Paul is the administrator. Kelly, you're on this as the board rep, and Amy Lohmeyer's the bookkeeper. But the number of participants this year were 26 elementary. In the middle school, we had 10. In the PDC, in the high school, there were 22. In other, there were 3. And there for a total of 61. So the amount of district monies expended on PD was down. And I think a lot of that was because we were out of school for 3 months or whatever. And that was $9,732.07. And that was submitted on, from Mr. Fort on 6/1/20.
Will you remind us the acronym PDC, please?
Professional Development Council. Sorry about that.
Only question I have is you're asking for in the motion an updated USD 420 guidelines. What does that mean? You're asking to
That's,
approve the PDC.
no, there are no updated guidelines.
So we're just, I would make a
Yeah.
motion to approve the
Scratch
PDC
that.
report as presented by the PDC council.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0. Number 4, meal prices.
We were not required to increase our meal prices this year. Patty puts all the in the numbers in the tool, and it tells us whether we have to or we need to increase meal prices. We could have increased meal prices this year, but we weren't required.
could have increased by 10 cents by the calculations, but due to the COVID-19, the USDA and KSDE are not requiring us to increase lunches this year per the calculator, so.
That's not to say that might not happen in the future, it probably will.
This is the first time they've ever had that happen.
So we decided it was maybe best not to increase meal prices for next year. We did increase, we did have to increase the adult lunches by 10 cents, and that's the only one that increased. So it'd be our recommendation to approve those meal prices as presented.
Student lunches, student meals stay the same, adult by 10.
Yeah, students stay the same.
I would move to approve the 2020-2021 meal prices as presented.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0. Number 5, milk bids.
Mike, did you say on the firm prices?
That's on milk.
Yeah, milk, that's coming.
This was just meal prices.
Yeah.
Number 5, milk.
Yeah, we put milk bids out every year. We get 2 back. One was from Osage Dairy, the other one Evco. Osage Dairy was lower on all prices except for maybe one. And if you look at this, you would think that it might be better to go with the escalating, de-escalating. But it'd be our recommendation to go with the firm price, not knowing what the milk markets are gonna do this next year. You never know if they're just gonna skyrocket, and then you're better off if you would have just taken the firm bid. So it'd be our recommendation to go with those different prices on the products that we get on the firm bid with Osage Dairy.
Haven't we in the past gone with the firm?
Most of the time we do.
Last year was the first year we went with the firm. Previous to that, we went with the escalating, de-escalating.
It depends on the year. I mean, but typically last year we did firm, I guess.
Osage Dairy also delivers more often, is that correct?
Yeah, that's a big deal. They deliver 3 times a week, whereas Evco only delivers twice, and that causes a big refrigeration problem.
And Osage Dairy will buy back at Christmas break, spring break at the end of the year, where Evco, what we buy is ours to keep, so.
So I'd make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 milk bid from Osage Dairy as presented on the firm prices.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Number 6, handbook.
We don't have many handbook revisions. I'll have these guys go through.
Hopefully I have enough. So, I'll give you a copy of that. Not much changes. The only thing that you can see highlighted there under grade cards, we've always had a pass-fail will be used for passing or failing in a pass-fail course. I'm just wanted to identify that all credit recovery courses will be a pass-fail course. Before we never really spelled that out. We could do that if not. But I just wanted to spell it out that credit recovery classes will be a pass-fail course. And then, so that's the only thing under grade cards. And then the qualified admissions are going to change dramatically for the class of 22 and on. And so those are the updated qualified admissions for those universities. So other than that, just routine names and bell schedules and things like that are updated, no prices, things like that are in the handbook. Other than that, it's just remain.
On
That's it.
pass-fail, real quick, on pass-fail, what's the pass, does it get a number, is it a 2 or what,
60%.
it's a 60, thanks.
Yeah.
Is that how do they do it now? Do they give them an A, B, C, D, or is it just pass, fail now?
Well, and that's the thing. Sometimes it was pass-fail, sometimes it wasn't, depending on the course. And it depended on what courses we had. We never really spelled it out what could be pass-fail. But that's always existed. But I just wanted credit recovery to be a pass. They already got a letter grade for it. So if they got if they didn't pass it, then they're another F anyway. So a pass isn't going to change their GPA basically. Those guys usually aren't worried about them.
I did not have any student handbook changes.
I didn't have any changes either, besides just like Mr. Hewitt said, names and times and stuff like that.
Any questions for them?
Need a motion to approve handbooks.
I'd make a motion to approve the handbook changes as presented for 2020-2021.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Number 7, 3 Lakes. We did meet in person on Monday. We met in the annex, which is kind of one of the trailers that's off to the side of the main brick building so we could spread out farther. I hadn't been in there since my very first meeting ever with 3 Lakes. So it wasn't bad. We were able to spread out like this and meet. There's still We had one resignation, 3 hires, kind of big things to fill right now. I think there's a clerical job that they posted on Osage County Online the other day, because a staff member's getting ready to retire. School psychs, still a big deal. I think they have 3 hired, does that sound right?
Yeah.
2 of them are gonna be interns.
Yeah.
So Emporia State students that hoping they can make it a long-term deal, because I think last year we even had to contract through school psych. Still need the frameworks position. So hopefully that'll be filled. What else? Financial wise, really they're missing a lot of revenue. Troy kind of stated it early. There's categorical aid and transportation that's at least $150,000 plus that they haven't got in yet. So Kathy really can't say whether there's going to be any more assessment. She doesn't think there will be, because last year we kind of built in the nest egg that's paying for the framework remodel and to kind of prevent that. Now that doesn't say anything about next year's assessment, whether it'll go up or down. But she was not able to concrete say, no, there's no more money due for this year. We did approve the purchase of the phone system that I talked about last month. Before they had brought the bid to lease the phones, the superintendent had asked they go back and rebid it to purchase the phones instead of leasing the phones. That was $6,700 to purchase the phones, but it brought the monthly cost of the phone service down to $328 instead of like it was over $500 a month. So it was gonna be cheaper in the long run than leasing the phones. If you remember, they don't even have voicemail for each employee, how they are set up now, that's how old school they are. We approved the work comp agreement, approved the web kids contract, which the only thing different with that is they're no longer going to store that on their own servers, they're going to now store that on the web kids server. That's kind of, I think my understanding is their software program that runs all of their IEP data. So right now, their IT person has to basically, sounds like he shows up at 6:30 in the morning every day and makes sure that that program is up and running on their server so that the teachers have access to that when they get there. So hopefully this will alleviate that and allow him to work on other issues. We approved the final ESY, that's extended school year. They are still not gonna meet in person in June. Hopefully they will meet in person with any students needing that extended school year in July. The only thing that would change, having 2 counties in the co-op, Osage County may be able to do that just fine, meeting in person in July, but if Franklin County's on a different reopening plan, Franklin County students may have to do something different than Osage County students. They just talked about the grant that we got for the pilot program. We did approve a new math curriculum. One of the things they talked about was, it sounded like the Three Lakes teacher in Burlingame that's teaching math to those kids could be using a different platform than a teacher in Osage could be using to teach math. So they are gonna use part of their COVID funds to purchase this new program in hopes to try to get something that's more collaborative that all of their teachers can use when school comes back or if they have to teach something at home. It sounded like it was, they couldn't really collaborate that much together because they were all doing kind of different things. So that's pretty much it. So we didn't have an executive session, so hopefully they know more. They are starting the construction for frameworks. They're going ahead, ahead with that construction. I think they started this week or they're getting ready to start next week. I know they were picking out ceiling fans and stuff, so it's
I'm not sure when it's
gonna happen, so.
They found anybody to teach
We're
them?
working on it.
They're working on it, but they have not hired anybody. So the assistant director is still there and she made mention that he was trying to put plans in place as worst case scenario if they don't, but she expects to be able to hire somebody. Any questions on that? Number 8, rec report.
Well, the pool's gonna be open on Monday, June 15th. This week Lynn has been doing lifeguard training and WSI classes. WSI in the morning from 8 to noon, and then lifeguard training from 1 to 5 to get all the guards from Osage and Burlingame and Overbrook, etc. trained, that need to be trained. Next week when we open, we are expecting a large amount of people, considering everywhere outside of Osage County is not opening their pool this year. So we could have a large influx of not just outside of Osage City, but outside of Osage County residents coming into town to swim. So Lynn's going to have a couple extra lifeguards on duty to wipe things down, share services around the tables and chairs, even the deck chairs as needed. Patrons will be asked to sign a login sheet when they come in, their name, time in, time out, and then phone number in case something happens. And I've been talking to Lynn, if they get to a situation where they feel that they're full, then they will prevent people from coming in. It just won't be just 500 people at the pool type of thing. So if it gets to that point, then it'll be, people out, people in situation. So we are doing swim lessons, group lessons. Will start the week of, or everything will start the week of June 29th. And of course, a lot of people signing up for privates and group lessons. Water aerobics will start next week on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 7. We'll just kind of see their normal clientele are older folks. And so Marcy will just have to see how many they have. Typically they have 15 to 20, which is, there's plenty of space. But if there ends up being a lot, then she'll have to adjust a little bit, make sure it's kind of spaced out evenly and whatnot. So, and then we are taking deck and pool rentals. I've already had a call this week about a pool rental in July. So, outside the pool, we're going to do a 7-on-7 tournament on July 25th. We've got confirmation already from several area schools, hoping to get at least 8 teams for the tournament. And then Coach Genbein is working on a date and times for a youth football camp. And so I'm assuming that will be towards the end of July when it typically is. So outside of that, that's it.
Thank you. Property insurance update, number 9.
Yeah, I got an unfortunate phone call today, or a request for a meeting on the phone, and it was Chris Conradi with, if you remember, we went to the Kansas Educational Risk Management Pool, which is property casualty, and we did an extension of we got our property insurance was not on the right cycle with a July to July. It was ours ended in April, so we got an April to July extension, and that was based off of a prorated amount of what they thought we were going to have for 2021, and that was about an $89,000 property insurance tag. That included cyber. The property insurance, and I've been hearing stories of other superintendents talking about how much theirs has increased for the upcoming year. And in talking to Chris today, the market for insurance is just getting annihilated with COVID. So they cannot, that $89,000 number is not is not going to be something that they can then use for the renewal process. And it came back today at about $112,000 for a renewal, which is about 23,000 more than what they had discussed. However, if you remember back in April, when we did our bidding for this, EMC was still higher than that number.
I
But
didn't know what that number was.
it was around 120,000, yeah. So we're lower than that, but it's still a hefty increase. And we know our health insurance is gonna go up too, but I think insurance overall is just right now just getting annihilated. And when he talked to me today, he said it's changing daily. So the longer you wait, or the more time that goes by, the worse it's getting.
So effective July, we're switching to the pool.
We are already in the pool.
We're in the pool.
This is a
This is just the
renewal.
gap.
This is the renewal for what we
I
changed
assumed
to.
It was locked into whatever rate we agreed to back in April. So
Well, I kind of thought that too, but that was a prorated rate.
Say what, $20-some thousand.
Yeah. I was under that impression.
Yeah, that's how I took it, is we agreed to that amount.
That's what the impression I had too, but I knew we had to do another renewal in July 1st, but the markets have been destroyed so much in the last 3 months and now part of that too is we can get some of that money back, if not all of it, but we could get some money back because we're in a pool. That's not a guarantee. It depends on how the year goes with the pool.
So my question would be, they come back in 2 months again and raise it again? I'm
No,
not so
they
sure I
can't.
trust these guys.
They can't do that.
You
Once
were
we
buying it the first time.
once we get to the renewal in July, but I wasn't very happy, Jay, because I was under the
Yeah,
same
that makes
impression.
sense. We agreed to one thing and they changed it after the fact.
Right. Well, I knew we were gonna have to renew in July, but I wasn't expecting it to increase, honestly. I thought that was the number, so, as the months have gone by since then, the markets have just not been good, so.
The pool is raising the premiums to protect themselves
Now,
for the next year.
also, it did, when we entered the pool, there was 22. There's now 46 schools and growing. And according to Chris, it's probably gonna be about the only show in town before it's all over. EMC, if they would come, his discussion with me, if they'd come back and bid, they would have the same problems right now, which is, in fact, Emporia tried to get a bid from EMC and they wouldn't even give them a bid. So they just are not covering different schools. So they're pulling out and not giving bids to some people, so.
And that's all you know, because this was like at 2:30.
Yeah, I got that. I mean, he was supposed to, he called me and asked to have
We just wanted to
he
let-
called and have a phone conference with me at 1, and it was 2:30 before he was actually able to get to me. And that was a 2:30 in the afternoon conversation. So there are 4 different deductibles for wind hail that we could go with to lower the cost or raise the cost. If we would go with with the lowest deductible of 5,000 on wind and hail, it goes up to 121,000. If we go to the lowest deductible on wind and hail, or the highest deductible, I should say, of 50,000, it goes to $108,000. So we can adjust it, but
It's not very much for a $45,000 risk.
no, I went ahead and went with a $10,000 and a $25,000 deductible on those things, which put us to about our bill's gonna be $112,000. So
That's using a $10,000 deductible.
a 10 and a 25.
25
10.
for one.
Yeah, $10,000 deductible, and then on wind and hail, it's $25,000 deductible. No, I was not, I watched a deal on this. They had a directors meeting, Zoom meeting, and I saw that, but I was like you, Jay. I was under the assumption that our bid was where it was on
So how does
7-1.
that compare to the schools around us?
It depends on the size of the school. Some of them are higher, some of them are lower. If you're a smaller school, you're gonna have less, but if you're a bigger school, it's gonna be higher, so. Yeah, so we really don't have much of a choice. We do have a choice, I guess, but we don't have much time to bid it out now. So we're on a July 1st deadline, so
So we could bid it out.
it could,
The other one that was.
which
But
is
doesn't
already
sound like
higher.
Was already higher 4 months ago.
Yeah, that doesn't mean we can't look at it in the future, though, you know.
Well, maybe it'll settle and.
He said it's just extremely volatile right now. I mean, I'm not an expert in insurance.
$20-some thousand in 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah,
So if you find out anything else.
if I find anything else out,
Keep
I'll
us
sure
posted.
I'll keep you posted. I don't see anything changing on that, at least in the short term. But I didn't see it in this term either.
Any admin reports?
Unless you got any questions.
I was just gonna say that, and Mr. Hutton talked about this briefly, and he doesn't know this either, because I didn't know it until yesterday, but Brian Strongram, Darcy Keith, and Shelley Moss are actually all three representing our school in Three Lakes, on the state competency, committees. So that's kind of a big perk for Osage City, I thought. So congratulations to those three for doing that. And then I was just gonna tell you guys that every summer I have my staff read a book to kind of get inspired. And this year, if you guys ever watch Facebook, you see Gary Brooks on there saying different things. He's a principal in Kentucky, and he talks like with a real twang, and he is actually hilarious. But his book is Go See the Principal, and that's the book that I'm having my staff read. But it is really enlightening. If you get a chance as a parent, I would recommend that you read that book because it really is geared more towards parents than it is teachers. But it's funny. Go See the Principal. That's all I have.
Do you have a question?
I got a question for Tony. Graduation, are we still full blown July?
Yeah.
Since we're gonna be in phase out, how are we gonna do?
My hope is that we have a traditional one on July 18th. I'll get a letter out to the seniors. We'll do a 10 o'clock rehearsal in the morning. And after talking to several of them, some of them want to have their middle of their day. So 10 o'clock rehearsal, and then we'll get back there at about 5-ish to take individual pictures and to take a class picture. I have activity account money because we didn't have any activities in the spring, so I'm gonna buy all the seniors an 8x10 class picture and give them 2 5x7 individual pictures. Now, July 8th, I think, is our July board meeting, so unless something changes by then, if we're not allowed to, then, I mean, if we're limited group sizes or any strange stuff like that, then probably do a virtual one. But I'd like to know by July 1, and probably will have a pretty good idea, but make a final decision in July board meeting.
And that'll be held in football field, right?
And I think I have you and Kelly handing out diplomas. So we'll probably, we'll look at it and do a stage of some sort out there. Not probably a real tall one with all the chairs and stuff on it, but put the kids on the track and try to do the best we can.
Any other questions?
Are you gonna limit participants on that still, is it?
I hope not. I think, and that's what I talked about last time, is if we're allowed to 4, per family or something like that, and somebody brings in 10 and you don't kick them out, then you're gonna have everybody else down your back. Well, we only allowed 4, so I think if we're limited on crowd sizes, we'll end up doing a virtual. Hopefully the trend keeps going the way it is and we're gonna be good to go.
We might be able to shorten that down a little bit. Yeah.
I would move we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions. I'm gonna add certified positions, classified positions, and supplemental positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA. The open meeting will resume in this room at 8:40 with the administration present.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0. All right, we're back in open session. I would make a motion, we go into executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, and supplemental positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA for a period of 5 minutes with the administration present. We'll return at 8:47.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 7-0. Do we need 10 more minutes? We still have. We're back in open session. I move we go to executive session to discuss potential certified positions, classified positions, supplemental positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA with the administration present. We'll return to open session at 9 o'clock.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Good?
Yep.
All right, we're back in open session. I would make a motion to approve the resignation of Tom Phillips as middle school science teacher and Joe Cerna as assistant softball coach.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0. I would make a motion to approve Jennifer Romine as grade 1 teacher for 2020-2021, Tracy Ensminger as grade 6 teacher for 2020-2021, Kathy Reed as a mobilizing literacy director, Josie Garland, Angela Bergeron as summer academy teachers, Jenny Long, Heather Lieber as summer academy assistants, and the supplemental contracts as presented for the 2020-21 school year.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0. 10 or 15.
I say 10.
Okay, I move we go into executive session to discuss negotiation topics pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under COMA for a period of 10 minutes. With the admin present, we'll return to open session at 9:11.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 7-0. We are back in open session. I would make a motion to adjourn.
Did you get
Aye.
that? Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
I want you to go sleeping on that one.
You're on home on that one.
Patty, did you need
As soon as he said the word adjourn. Second eye.
What's the second eye?
Second eye, I have a second